Public service invented is now the second part of the seminar.
Yeah, and our first speaker, the first presentation on the afternoon is from Finland. You will hear from a real public service media veteran, and as he describes himself, a slowly recovering journalist having worked for 20 years in the news department in several roles. Mika Rahkonen is here to speak about the top 10 threats to public service media and how to beat them all. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you, everybody. My name is Mika Rahkonen. I'm the head of strategy at the Finnish broadcasting company YLE. And as they said, I'm a very slowly recovering journalist after spending 20 years in news department in several roles. I'm here to talk about the threats. I have a top 10 list, as you do. Listicles, someone might remember those. I'm stating the obvious first. We are not immune to these. These are not something that YLE has avoided or solved necessarily. And also, this is not going to be pretty. These are threats, after all. And as you may have anticipated, that there is no magic wand, there's no magic trick, no silver bullet, that this is how you beat all of these threats. This is meant to be more of like a map of potholes or traps that you maybe should be aware of in order to avoid as many of these as possible. One more disclaimer, there might be some conflicting arguments here among the top 10 threats. I admit, now that's because a lot of things are true and can be true at the same time. Tricky. Also, these are not in particular order. No particular order, although I do have a very special place in my heart for the number 1 entry. Let's get back to that later. Number 10, the so-called difficult audiences. I think we all know the phrase, the difficult audiences. At least for us, and what I hear from other countries as well, it's been a 180-degree change with men and women being the difficult audiences. 10 plus years ago, women were the difficult audiences. Now it's several segments of men. That's a dramatic shift. What does it say about professional media and public service media that a lot of male segments have become more distant from it? What happened? Do we understand what happened? What happens if we don't understand it? And is the answer somewhat unpleasant for us? Also, should we think this the other way around? What if the audiences are not difficult? What if we are? These difficult audiences, do we listen to them closely enough? Number 9, waiting for the old to disappear so we can concentrate on the new. For a long time, everything in public service media has come down to linear versus digital. This has been the divide and the overarching theme. Many times, broadcast old, digital new. A lot of digital progressives have been waiting for the old broadcast to just go away, so that everything would be smooth sailing from then on. Now, there's a problem with that thinking. When broadcast finally someday will fade away, whatever that means, we will have something else that will be old then. And something else will then be the new. The streaming service we now have, which is the new, might be the old in the not so impossibly distant future. The point here is that we will always have the old and the new, and what's old and what's new, it just changes. This quote sums this up pretty well. The transformation that we keep talking about It now happens inside digital. This quote is by my former EBU Digital Committee colleague Ezra Ehman from NPO, a brilliant guy. If you're on LinkedIn, you should follow him. One of the brightest minds in media working environment thinking. This sums it up pretty well. Number 8, it's getting more philosophical. Forgetting who you are. What got public service media here won't get us where we want to go. And that's not a small thing. The level in competition of competition in digital has been overwhelming to a lot of public service media. Our traditional TV news, for example, huge numbers every night, many times still, no matter how good the newscast is. Think about it. We've learned to copy some things from digital frontrunners from completely different industries. That's good, that's been smart, but we are not startups. We are on a mission to serve our societies. We are major creative companies. Our core products are cultural artifacts and journalism. All the ideas and methods from digital powerhouses from other industries are not necessarily good fits for us. Which brings me to the quote here. A short story. I was attending the Google Newsgeist unconference. Some of you may know the Google Newsgeist way back, maybe 10 years ago. A lot of smart people around the world, and me. We had to introduce ourselves first in an auditorium in the first evening. We had to choose 4 words that were top of mind at work back then and right then. This is what one industry titan, a very famous person, said. These were that person's 4 words. Stop measuring everything. That really stuck to me. We do things and we hopefully create value that are many times downright impossible to measure with numbers, because you end up measuring emotion. And this, remembering who you are, brings us to number 7. Forgetting why you exist. It's a terrible cliche to say that content is king. But it is. It should be repeated because it should be remembered. There's a lot of things going on. You might lose your sight of the ball. This is the ball. Yeah, we should streamline, we should optimize, we should be effective. Of course, we should have great processes in whatever we do. But there is no single person paying public service media tax or public service media fees so that the public service media has great processes. They are paying for the content. That's also why there should be great content professionals calling the shots in public service media. Number 6, this is one of my long-time favorites, the primal fear of personalization. There were so much misunderstandings about personalization news when we started with personalization in YLE News about 13 years ago. Honest misunderstandings on purpose, and misunderstandings based on pure stupidity. There were so much of those misunderstandings that I ended up doing a presentation that was making on news personalization, and the presentation was making rounds at the EBU sessions. That was only a list of these misconceptions. 7 most common misconceptions about the news personalization or something like that. I'm starting to think that this change from the one news feed for all, no matter what model, to a more personalized news service is such a huge change. Now, a business jargon alert, a paradigm change, maybe, if you will, that it perhaps takes a generation. A new generation for newsrooms, a new generation for customers of news, who understand that personalization is not a boogeyman. I don't know if it's more discouraging, demoralizing, or just funny, But seems like our industry, the news business, public service media, maybe the private one as well, has learned very little about news personalization in 10 years. And I've got proof. This slide is 10 years old. I haven't touched it. The babble about bubbles sounds like a sitcom episode. The babble about bubbles. You can't finish the word personalization before someone yells, bubbles! It's obviously, it's a bit more complicated. We can make the personalization algorithm so that it breaks bubbles, surprises people, challenges people. Social media, then you ask? Yeah, sure, social media creates bubbles, but it also breaks bubbles. Social media breaks bubbles too. Bubbles, by definition, in this context, probably means something like you're exposed to people only to people similar to you, right? The people that that share the ideology, that share your worldviews, your opinions. Well, look at the social media. All the toxic, horrible stuff on social media show that people are exposed to worldviews completely opposite to their own. That's what all the fights in social media are about. That's literally breaking bubbles. I'll come back to one particular bubble, which is the number one thing that has a special place in my heart, you remember. This is another thing. This is also a 10-year-old slide from the Misconceptions of News Personalization presentation 10 years ago. It's amazing how many people still ask that, does personalization prevent me from seeing the big news? Why would it? Of course not. Personalization is a fine-tuning apparatus. The news desk can decide to override all the personalization at any point. The news desk is calling the shots at all times, or at least you can make sure that it does. Most personalization efforts are also, up until now, done so that the important news that the news desk thinks that are the important news are on the top at all times, and then the personalization is down there. So, and yeah, by the way, we've only seen the first stage of personalization, the topic-based personalization. We talked about this 13 years ago in YLE, that the topic-based personalization is only the first step, and other forms will follow. You maybe heard the current buzzword, liquid content, which means that you have, let's say you have a long read, a long news story, you can make it into any form the customers prefer. It can be audio, it can be video, it can be a selection of short stories or whatever, and those sort of things are the next steps in personalization, and we can already see it happening. That's the liquid content thing. Okay, halfway there. Hope you have questions and comments and counter arguments maybe. So we're gonna leave. I promise that we're gonna have time for those in the end. Back to the countdown. Number 5. Yeah, media changes fast, but that's only half the truth. Technology moves fast, obviously. Money moves fast. People are trickier. They change their habits many times really slowly. Now, what should be the pace, as a public service media company, what should be the pace of your transformation in light of this? The easy answer is the most boring answer. You should find the right balance, right? It's super boring, but I think it's true as well. At the same time, I don't know about you, but I have never ever even heard of a traditional professional media company, public service media or private, that has changed too fast, that has transformed too quickly. Maybe there's a lesson in that as well. Number 4, and this is something we should speak in hushed tones, bias. Trust is everything in news. But could the haters sometimes be right? Also, hate is not the only problem we have. Indifference might be even worse because indifference is easier. It requires less than hate. People just don't care about you anymore. Our understanding on what is behind trust, how trust is earned, has changed dramatically over the years. I was working for YLE TV News 20 years ago. YLE TV News was the high point of trusted media in Finland. The numbers were, it was the shining light on top of a hill. We had trust levels that we joked that these are North Korean numbers. Back then, pretty much the only idea we had about trust is that people trust us because our facts are straight. Now that feels completely insane, that would be enough. When measuring trust, also, this is something that you got to remember. The method makes a lot of difference. When we used to ask about trust face to face, we got numbers starting number 9, 90% something. We started to ask by phone, it's 80%. Now there's an anonymous web panel, guess what happens? So the method makes a huge difference, and that's something else that there's a lesson in that as well. Also, trust has gone from vertical to horizontal, from institutions to individuals, and there is some sort of polarization. However, you, as the researchers say, there's a whole bunch of polarizations. You can divide the polarization in so many levels, so many ways, but there is some sort of polarization in societies that's indisputed. I think people choose sides, and this polarization changes expectations towards media. When you consume news through a lens of your sometimes very strong identity, you tend to see arguments and statements in the news that necessarily aren't there at all. So what's the minimum requirement for trust if it's not our facts are straight sort of thing as we had in the 20 years ago? The minimum requirement is probably something along the lines that people can relate and they are not judged. Their way of life is not judged. But it does get trickier. This one gets trickier too, because some people seem to want news that completely agree with their worldviews. I mean, for news. That's a much more complicated thing, but it should be noted that that happens as well. Number 3, understand when you're under attack. Public service media is an institution. We stir up emotions, big emotions, whenever there's a battlefield in a society, political, ideological, whatever. Public service media is usually somewhere there in the arguments. NRK in Norway, good to see you. They recently published their updated threat assessment. Very recently, last week, a couple of weeks ago. They say that when it comes to security, the outlook is the worst since World War II. Think about it. NRK gets 100,000 phishing attempts every month, digital attacks. Then we heard, before lunch, we heard about the misinformation and disinformation campaigns, and we sure as hell know as well about those because we live next to the Russians as well. Then there's this parallel media ecosystem, media universe, for people who don't trust the professional media, but also professional, seasoned journalists working along the journalistic guidelines who speak directly to audiences. Substack, YouTube, podcasts. Global podcast market is estimated to grow to $110 billion by the year 2030. Substack, hope you know what Substack is. has 500,000 paying customers in the UK alone. 500,000 people in the UK are paying the content creators, the writers, directly. These ecosystems are not going away. These are our competitors as well. It's easier than ever to technically build a media company, and it's getting easier by the day. Inching closer to number one. Number two, reporting from a world that doesn't exist anymore. This is devastating when it happens. This is basically the definition of irrelevance. This is when your understanding of your audiences has expired, your audiences aren't what they used to be. This is when your understanding of your operational environment has gone stale. The outside world isn't what it used to be. This is when nostalgia is your strategy. As Mark Carney said, the Canadian Prime Minister famously said in Davos Economic Forum in January, you remember that? Nostalgia can't be your strategy. This is what nostalgia is your strategy. This happens to traditional media. Sometimes, some levels, at least. If this happens, audiences maybe don't become as much hateful, but indifferent. They don't care about you anymore. And that caring is our lifeline. This threat, this headline, brings us conveniently to the number one, which is one of my all-time favorite rants: the media elite bubble. Our biggest enemy and our dearest friend. The media elite bubble is funny. That's the group that's the most vocally worried about bubbles in society. They worry about bubbles all the time, but the ironic thing is that they don't even understand that they have their own bubble that's airtight. What's the media elite bubble? It's us in the media. It's people close to us. It's the people we report on. It's our super users. Our best customers, and many times our closest friends as well. If there's one thing I've learned on how people understand media use, it's that people really overwhelmingly think that everybody uses media just like they do. That's the mother of all problems in media. This bubble doesn't understand how others use media. The media elite bubble is okay with how things have been in the media. Its preferred ways to use media have disproportionately dictated how the media evolves or doesn't evolve. We keep telling everybody that journalism is needed. Sure it is, but should we turn the ambition level up a notch and try to think that journalism would interest, how would journalism interest and reach people it now doesn't interest or reach? And that brings to an old saying that we've had, that we shouldn't always be maybe so worried about our credibility. We should be worried about our lack of street credibility as well. A glimmer of hope towards the end. I'll wrap this up with one lesson I hope I've learned. When you looked how public service media has transformed, both from your own company's perspective and from what you hear from other public service media companies, one thing stands out. There are, and there have been, a lot of key decisions along the way on the tables on how to proceed with transformation, with digital issues, with modernization. A lot of these decisions, these questions, have caused downright fear. Do we dare to do this? Do we dare to go ahead? Do we dare to make this step? Sweaty palms every time. Then 2 years go by. We understand that that decision, the sweaty palms decision, was actually a complete no-brainer. And we wonder why it was such a hard place for us, why it was such a huge deal for us, why it was so difficult to go forward, why were we so afraid? Because after a while, you understand that going forward is a no-brainer. Thank you.
No, we're not letting you out yet, Mr. Mika.
We've got 5 minutes.
Yes, you have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. One question, I guess, or one comment. Please elaborate on personalization.
Oh, that's a wide question. Personalization means that we can serve people better, give them what they like, give them what they don't yet know they like. That's the breaking of the bubbles thing. Surprising them, making sure that they get something that's that they can relate to, that they are interested, and not just pushing something down their throats that we think that this is important, but they don't care about it at all. Also, there's the other way around as well. What I hear about the commercial newsrooms as well is that they get a lot of feedback from very angry people who've seen one story they dislike a lot. And that's where personalization should help as well. I mean, they can be very happy customers for years, and then they see one story that's very objectionable to those people, and here goes my subscription. And this seems to be a big deal because people are getting, I hear that people are getting angrier by the day.
Isn't that kind of the TikTok brain?
Oh, yeah.
The TikTok timeline in the brain, should I say?
Exactly. Yeah. Does liquid content mean doing less but making it relevant more people in more places? I'd say I'm not sure it means doing less. It means getting more out of what you do in the first place. This is a very complex thing. I actually had a presentation about this a couple of weeks ago in the INMA conference, but it starts with the atomization of news. It goes to your systems. You have to produce sort of news atoms that your big story has to consist of smaller atoms that you can then put into in order or in the shape or form that is preferred. We've been doing this manually. Public service media companies have been doing this manually for decades. We've been we have a single story, we make a radio version, a TV version, an internet version. This is just the modernization of this, pushing it a step forward. Ooh. Don't you guys have easy questions? From vertical to horizontal trust. This is, as I said, vertical trust is based on institutions, that people trust institutions in societies. And as you can see, I think everywhere in the liberal democracies, the trust towards institutions is going down. Maybe not necessarily very, very fast, but it's like a downward trend. And it's not just media. It's other institutions as well. It might be the judicial system, it might be the school system, it might be the security apparatus in societies, police, whatever you have. And the trust changes from the horizontal thing means that people trust other people. That's where the relatability kicks in. And it's this old saying that people don't relate to your company's logo, they relate to faces. So that, I don't know if this answers this at all, but somewhere along the lines of that. Found your comments about disenfranchised men now being an issue. Very interesting. Can you say more? Yeah, this goes to, we maybe should update the lines where the trust cracks. Our understanding of those is probably something that doesn't reflect reality anymore. It's funny that one time after another, every time you measure trust, the people who trust the professional, I'm saying professional media, and I'm referring to public service media and private, but professional media as opposed to like influencers and such. The people who trust the professional media the most are the most educated people. They are the most well-off people in societies, and that's sort of like a paradoxical, because those are the people that are educationally best equipped to take everything very critically. But those are the people who trust the media the most, and the people who have the lowest levels of education trust the media the least. This is something that's been hugely interesting to me, and there might be something to look. I met some researchers here. This is just a hint. That's something that deserves, I think, a closer look.
And with these wise words, we're going to finish with you, Mr. Rahkonen, and thank you for this.
Thank you, Mika. Thanks.